silver has been moving a lot recently. You could probably call it a crash. Silver crashed to below $50. It was $54 at one stage, and today it dropped all the way below $50. It was trying to hold that $52 region, but I just couldn't do it, and it's crashed all the way to $49. But can you really call it a crash? And should you still be stacking silver and moving onto other assets? So from my view, I don't really see it as a crash. It has simply just been going up too fast, too quick. Remember, just in a short period of time, it moved past $50, and $50, I have to say, it was a strong resistance, and it just broke through it like it was nothing. And it just went up on a daily basis, 52, 53, 54. And so I think it's healthy for it to have a small correction at the moment from the 53, dropping it back to $49. It's always good for assets to have sort of a pullback whilst it's going up. If it just goes up all the time, then yeah, it cannot keep on going for a long time. So pullback is kind of healthy in the bigger scheme of things, and I still think silver has good long-term potential. And even if it's dropping, I wouldn't panic. I mean, look at the good design on these bullion coins, especially if on certain coins the design is just so good. So even if it's dropping, yeah, it doesn't really faze me, because you can still look at how nice the coin design is. Even not pure silver, but these old silver coins. I mean, just look at this one. Look at this. This is a very old coin. I don't know if you see it, even the back. Just look at how they designed these old coins in the past. I believe this is 92%, 92.5% sterling silver. It's a very nice coin. Very nice, very nice. So even though the silver content is increasing, there's really not much numismatic value unless it's in really good condition. Otherwise, it's normally just sold at spot. These coins, however, have a higher premium over spot. So yeah, that really brings us the question: should we then move from silver to Pokemon? I mean, Pokemon has also seen its correction over the past couple of days. You have seen Sun and Moon booster boxes having a correction, although in that case, would you really call it correction? It can, depending on your own definition. I mean, it dropped 20 to 30% on certain booster boxes, and Sword and Shield booster boxes also seen somewhat of a correction. Scarlet and Violet not so much, because it's a relatively newer set, but there's still a correction nonetheless. So would you move from silver to Pokemon, or would you just keep cash? You know, and I think it's sometimes not too bad. Always have a budget. Don't go all in on any single thing. Have some sort of plan in terms of diversification. I think in terms of return wise, Pokemon cards would have a high expected return. You could probably say it's potentially a riskier asset, but then you have to look at what your definition of risk is. Is it the more volatile the asset, or is it the risk of not meeting your own objective? So that's sort of what you need to think. And I don't think it's always a bad idea to keep some cash in a high yield savings account. You know, even though the expected return is not as high as these two asset classes. Yes, I'm seeing precious metals as a class and Pokemon as a class. It's no longer just a hobby that you just collect for fun. I think it has its market on its own. Yes, it might not be as liquid as a stock or ETF, but nowadays there's a market for it. Like if you want to liquidate this, you could find buyers easily. Well, not as easy as a full-on stock exchange, but it's not difficult. And sometimes you don't even need to lose too much, i.e. sell your product at 50% in order to sell it off. Really product dependent. Some products are more in demand, but really Pokemon products, if you can get in at a relatively low cost base, and that's generally at the release of each set. If you get in at MSRP, you remember back in the days MSRP wasn't even a good price. Nowadays MSRP is considered the best price, and that's really what you can get upon release. And when a set is reprinted, that's really, you know, the time to get it. And yeah, just sometimes you're just gonna have cash on the side just in case there's a pullback and you're still able to meet your day-to-day expenses. I think that's especially important. But if you've been budgeting properly, this will be less of a problem, because even if Pokemon drops a lot, your day-to-day living conditions won't really be impacted, because you would have only used your disposable income, a percentage of your disposable income, to invest into Pokemon. And yeah, so shouldn't be too bad. And sometimes you really, if you want to, you know, invest in silver and Pokemon, you gotta have discipline. You really gotta control your spending. Sometimes if your budget is up, you just have to stop spending, and it's not easy all the time. I mean, if you see a good deal, you know, you see a coin, a silver coin that you really like, you'd be like, oh, that's a bargain, and you want to get into it. Or you see certain products on a really good product on sale, and you want to get into it, you just gotta practice self-control. Even if that's the case, you've you know, used up your budget, you just can't spend. Just see how long you can do that. For example, if you used up your budget, see how long you can go without spending more on Pokemon. And that's definitely not easy, and something I'm also been practicing on, because whenever I see a good deal, I'll be like, okay, fine, you know what, it's a good deal, and you justify it to yourself, and it's a good investment. What I've seen, it's quite funny going around, is people justify opening Pokemon packs as an investment, but that's generally not good. Because if you're opening packs, the expected value of the pack contents is generally lower than the price of the pack. And that's just the case. Yes, you could be lucky, you could be opening the chase card, and then you make back multiples of the cards in the pack. But generally, if we're speaking expected value wise, the expected value of opening a pack is generally negative, because the value of your contents is generally lower than the price of the pack itself. For example, let's take a look at Evolving Skies, the strongest set of Sword and Shield. This, you could pull the Umbreon VMAX out art, and that's a $2,300 card. And if you grade it into a 10, that's $3,000 and something dollars. Tons of money. But this pack is going for $30. A loose Evolving Skies booster box is going for $30. So let's just say we're working with $3,000, okay? For PSA 10. Yes, that's 100 times a single pack. But what are the chances of opening a Umbreon VMAX alternative art? You have to go and open, on average, 1,500 to 2,000 packs in order to open that card. So, yes, expected value wise, it's generally not appropriate. I don't really see that as an investment. What I see as an investment is if you buy sealed products and you just hold on to it for a couple of years. Ideally after the print run, and then you give it some time to see how the market reacts. Yeah, so normally a print run is 2 to 3 years, and then maybe add a year just to see how the product does, because normally after reprint is done and a couple of months later the product starts to move up, because the market knows that this particular sealed product would no longer be in print, and supply would, you know, stop there, and the product would do well. And especially if it's a strong set like Evolving Skies or Scarlet Violet, I would say Prismatic Evolutions. And in the new era, which is very surprising, is Mega Evolutions. Mega Evolutions is actually doing much better than I expected. I mean, I thought Mega Evolutions was going to be the the start of somewhat of a bear market, because you know, Scarlet and Violet ended off nicely with Destined Rivals, and then Black Bolts. But I don't know why. Maybe because people aren't really a fan of Unova region Pokemons, which is Generation 5. There's 156 of them, but Black Bolt has at least an illustration rare or a special illustration rare for all the Pokemons in the Unova region, and that's not really been done before. Imagine if that is done to Gen 1 Pokemons or Gen 2 or even Gen 3. That would be insane. That would be a crazy set. So Black Bolt's maybe kind of undervalued at the moment, but Mega Evolutions ME1, I thought, you know what, Lucario, God of War, Venusaur and Kangaskhan, it's not really popular Pokemon, but yet it's doing so well. It's because of that new rarity, that gold card, where the Lucario is going for upwards of $500, $600, and God of War, I think it's around $400 to $500. So yeah, it's definitely crazy times. And then we have Phantasmal Flames coming out, MEO2, coming out in November 14th. So I don't really see the bear market happening soon. We might see some corrections, so I'm calling it a correction at the moment. Just market cooling off right now, somewhat of a correction, but not really a crash. Crash to me is like maybe a $50, not a $50, 40 to 50% drop. That to me may then be closer to a crash. But yeah, I see Pokemon still doing well in the short term. Might be some correction, but up until Eternals, which is supposedly the name for the 30th anniversary, I think it's gonna just either stay calm, and then once we get news of Eternals, then we might see another insane demand coming for Pokemon. So until 2026, I think it's still gonna be well. If you can get products at MSRP, I don't think you can really go wrong unless a crash happens. And then 2027, maybe that's when we start seeing some cool-offs. But if Eternals is a really good set, I think that can push demand further to 2027. And then even if you know, crash were to happen or a bear market, if you have been staying to your budget, you could survive across the bear market, and then just wait for the cycle to come back again for Pokemon. So if say the bear market happens in 2027, things start crashing, just hold cash, hold on your cash, buy cheaper, you know, look out for strong sets and then buy cheaper again. It's not necessarily a bad thing. And then maybe the cycle moves back again in 2029 or 2030. And then yeah, if you've been buying at those low points, then it could turn out to be a very positive outcome. Yeah, that's really my take in the moment. Just in general, stick to your budget and don't really panic sell at the moment. Okay, catch you next one.